Good morning. It's Dr. David Lunt here today, and we're going to be talking about the chain of survival. In medicine, this is a term we use when somebody has collapsed. It gives us a schedule which we follow very quickly and in a lot of detail, and that gives us a better chance of survival. But it does not only apply to medicine. It can apply to any catastrophes, and we are facing a large number of catastrophes in our world at this present time. So it's important, no matter what the cause, and it's a lesson we all need to learn in order to look after our very precious planet. This is the only planet which we've found which has got life forms as we know it, our families, and indeed all life forms. We've got to look after nature. There are a lot of very wonderful life forms around which we need to keep from extinction and which are becoming extinct very quickly. And we don't want to follow them. There are things waiting to take over from us. Bats, I think, will take over from us unless we can learn how to look after ourselves properly and unless we obey this chain of survival. The first start in a chain of survival is prediction. If you can predict something, then you're able to prevent it. The problem with prevention is that it's difficult to show that you've prevented something. And if you can't show that you've prevented something, you don't usually get funding for it. And that has led to the catastrophes which we are seeing at the present time throughout the world. People would rather be making money than spending money on preventing things which cannot prove that they've prevented it. We've got to change that. And if you haven't prevented it, the next thing is early diagnosis. The sooner you diagnose it, the easier it is to treat and the less harm it does. We've all seen that very definitely in COVID-19. The earlier you treat it, the better for everyone concerned. And then that treatment, early treatment, is very necessary. That all is to prevent a catastrophe of deaths. And we've never on this planet had so many deaths occurring in such a short period of time. So COVID-19 is very important, but it's not the only important one. All the rest of global warming, our world has a temperature. It is getting too hot. We need to cool it. It's no good saying we're going to decrease the rate at which we're heating it. We've got to say we're going to decrease the temperature of the earth from now. It's far too late in the stage to think of just decreasing the amount of heating which we're allowing to occur. And that is easy. We just need to put our minds to do it and make sure that everybody follows it. So the chain of survival is very important. I have done a lot of autopsies. Very sad. You can learn things from autopsies, but you're always too late. So we are already too late for those huge numbers of people who have died on this planet during this COVID-19 outbreak. Added to that, we've had all these other catastrophes which are taking place. They've all got the same cause. There are multiple causes, but ultimately it is man-made causes. There are too many of us. We've overpopulated, we're living in high density, and we need to look at our causes, and then we need to change those as soon as possible. Yeah. Today, we're going to be concentrating on prediction because that is the most important in the chain of survival. If you can predict something, then you can prevent it. That is what we have to do. So we're going to be looking at prediction, and then the rest of the chain of survival we'll be covering later in our course. But prediction is time dependent. Extinctions hundreds of years ago we know about, and we can look at that over a sequence of events which we can monitor. And then looking at that, it's not difficult. You can predict what's going to happen next. You can't predict it with absolute certainty, but you know it's coming, and you know that the longer it takes to come, the more time you have to put in places the things which you can do to prevent it. So it's no excuse in saying that this couldn't foresee it because people were predicting it 30 years ago and it didn't happen. That's not an excuse. We should have been doing things and preventing a lot of what has happened and a lot of the extinctions which have occurred a long time ago. So prediction is most important, and it's easy when events are monitored and then you look at the sequence. I and others have predicted climate change many decades ago, worsening pandemics 3 decades ago, wild forest fires 4 decades ago. When I was at university, I used to work in forestry during the July holidays when it was dry, drought, strong winds, and we had to protect our families which were living in the forests, and we had to prepare for it so we could predict during that period of time we would be getting wildfires. So we cut fire breaks, we burned fire breaks, we felled trees, we were prepared and trained as to what we would do, and we managed to control wildfires. As soon as there was smoke, there was going to get smoke without a fire, we got there and we put it out early on. Droughts exactly the same thing. Droughts have been happening for thousands of years, and they are continuing to increase in frequency, as are floods. That is showing that we are doing things wrong. We are the dominant species on our planet, and we can change all of this. We just need to look at what we're doing. Prediction is better than cure. It is far better than cure, but it doesn't get funding because people don't see the results. But we had to change all that. We've got to prevent all these catastrophes which are around us. Air pollution. COVID-19 is a pollutant in our air, and that is what we're breathing. And it has killed a huge number of people. People who had no idea what was going on. They just know they're sick and they're dying. And they watch their relatives getting sicker and dying. And that is happening in huge numbers. I've worked in the third world. I know what a tragedy this type of thing is occurring. I watched HIV/AIDS and seen it for 20 years. It is horrific what it does to the third world population. We're very lucky to be a first world population with a national health service. And congratulations to all those who are working in it. They've done a marvelous job. But we have to now admit that we've done it too late. We've got to look at prediction and we've got to prevent these things from happening. We've got to do it now. We've got to not think it's satisfactory just to decrease the rate at which we are heating the planet. We've got to say, well, now we must decrease the temperature of the planet. It's too hot, it's ill. Just like medicine, we've got a world which is too hot. We've got to cool it. So we've got to start by cooling the planet. We can do that. We just have to look at the amount of energy which we are producing and decrease the amount of energy we are producing until we're cooling it. And people must then work around all the other ways in which they conserve their energy and they use their energy properly. We're using it extremely extravagantly, and we need to change all that. We can do that, and we must do that. In May 2005, 17 years ago, I was a speaker at the World Police Medical Officers Annual Conference in Dunblane, Scotland. What I spoke on then was what is our role in the prevention of biocrimes. During my lifetime, the polio pandemic stopped us playing sport at school for a year, but was controlled by oral vaccines. HIV/AIDS mutates too rapidly for effective vaccinations, and now COVID-19 is also mutating too fast, and lockdowns are financially non-sustainable. What is your role in the prevention of these worsening man-made biocrimes? This is a list of my qualifications from 5 nations with a very high standard of medicine. It is not necessary to have this. It helps, but it is certainly not necessary. Anybody who is motivated, it is motivation which is most important. Mine I received early on as a 15-year-old schoolboy when I qualified with the Royal Life Saving Society. But others, it can be very different. Traffic officers, very different. Everyone, very different. But most importantly is you. No matter who or what you are, if you motivate yourself and sustain that motivation, you can save lives. Most important are those people who look after our homes or look after the businesses which look after the people who look after our homes. They are the big lifesavers of society. It is not necessary for you to have a country with a first world National Health Service, which we have. Country I came from was third world, and people were looking after one another. And that is what we all have to do, and we have to learn how to do it. We are able to teach you how to do that. Courses are needed. By just a quick look at something and saying, yeah, I'd like to do that, it's not good enough. You really need to attend a course, and you need to send people on courses where they can learn motivation and when they can learn how we can make our world a much safer place for all of us to live in. We have to treat all the causes of ill health and not just specific ones which turn up as expedient and require a tremendous amount of money paid to try and save the situation at the last resort. We have to start now, and we have to prevent ill health rather than try to treat it once it has occurred. Prevention is far better than cure. And if there's one lesson we have to learn about the present COVID-19, it is just that. It can be prevented. It must be prevented. You are the people who has to do it, and we have to do it now. This is Dr. David Lunt here, congratulating you on keeping your family safe and saying well done. Lockdowns have validated that you have kept your family safe at home. Indeed, governments have had to assist upon it because of this very reason. We are all safer at home than we are anywhere else. So congratulations on keeping your family safe, especially during this present COVID-19 pandemic. Well done on looking after us at home. This predictable COVID-19 pandemic has taken huge numbers of lives and relied on lockdowns despite non-affordable economic disruption at national and global level. Future far worse pandemics will occur with predictable certainty, and it will again be the care we receive at home that we will be reliant upon for survival. So start preparing now and join me on this course. You can prevent pandemics better than me. We can prevent pandemics better than you. You can prevent wildfires better than me. We can prevent wildfires better than you. You can prevent storms better than me. We can prevent storms better than you. You can prevent deforestation better than me. We can prevent deforestation better than you. In summary, we have covered the chain of survival, which is prediction, prevention, early diagnosis, early treatment. And that chain of survival is ultimately to prevent morbidity and deaths. And we have seen far too many deaths in these last couple of years on this planet. So we have to look at the earliest which we could do, which is prediction. And that has been covered so far in this video. Prevention, early diagnosis, treatment, that actually requires a course. It needs to be gone into with a lot of detail, improving motivation and helping people study it and working together to improve the quality of what we are able to provide. And that course we can enter for on this page. We intend to achieve altogether preventable by preventing ill health causes altogether. That is the aim. That is what we can do. And you can join this course by pressing the button below or cutting and pasting the links below into your browser. And then you'll be able to join the course and improve the safety of your work environment and the families of your staff. Thank you, and I hope to see you all on the course. Bye.